All right, we're going to call the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors.
Here.
Director Gould.
Present.
Director Wood, let me know he would be absent this evening. Director Rice.
Here.
Director Costa.
Here.
Director Weber.
Here.
Director Stark.
Here.
Director Clark.
Here.
Director Jones is absent. She did send a text that she's stuck in traffic. She should be here shortly. Thank you.
So she will be right.
Oh, there she is.
Hey.
Hey.
All right, Director Jones is present. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Clark, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Clark. Metro Cable announcement. This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District is recorded. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs channel on the Comcast and Direct TV Uverse cable systems. Dates and times of the recording can be found in the agenda packet. With that, we'll move to public comment. So this is public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
I have no speaker cards. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to make a public comment? And anyone on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature. No response, no public comments. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to the consent items. Are there any questions or comments on consent?
No, sir.
All right. All right, we have a motion. Can we get a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Yes.
In regards to item number 2, are we going to have a little bit more conversation and accolades and praise and thanks? It's regardless of what John wants. I think this is such a monumental thing for this organization that while I understand it fits in the consent component, I would hope that at some point before the evening ends that we have an opportunity to speak directly to the resolution.
Absolutely, Director.
You can either do that now, or you can also do that during your reports, the board members' reports.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that we understand that that is a fairly large item on a consent that we normally blow through without much concern. So thank you very much, and I'll hold my comments until then.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Director.
And if I may, President, I'd like to make
Yes.
a comment on that. I was prepared after you approve that or take your vote that we, during the board member comments, we all line up for a picture, and I have a presentation for them also at the very end. So we
Thank
can
you.
get a picture, acknowledge that. And I agree with you. Those years of service and that dedication to the organization, we truly appreciate. So
And an
That's
opportunity
okay
to
with you,
embarrass
President?
it too, right?
Embarrassing.
So we have.
All right.
All right.
Thank
So
you,
we
Pete.
do,
So we have a, I'm sorry, we have a
Okay.
first and a second. Any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark. Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Consent calendar is adopted.
All right, thank you. Takes us to action items that will come up after closed session. So we'll move to reports, go to President's report. I just want to highlight quickly for the board. I want to thank our fire marshal and her team. As we see development occurring and we're getting a lot more development, and that development is changing. We have an association that has reached out about making sure we're coordinating and communicating. And so I just want to thank Chief for taking the time to meet with that group, talking about our history with that group, and ensuring that this organization is open for conversations and partnerships. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you, Chief. All right, with that, Chief House. I know no report, but
no report this evening. I just want to acknowledge probably at the end, when you give comments, probably yours would be the appropriate time if we could get a picture, and I have a presentation of a acknowledgement of years of service. So.
okay. Thank you, Chief. All right. And as far as operations, administrative, and support emergency medical services, we have no report. So that will move us to firefighters local 522. Captain Sean Schollard, our local 522 Vice President. Good evening.
Fire Chief, colleagues, members of the public, especially colleagues this evening. As promised a couple weeks ago, I told you that I need to do a better job about putting the membership in front of you. An opportunity for you to be able to convey your priorities to the membership. Well, here's a small contingent of the membership. Many tried to come on duty, scheduling on-duty attendance through their chain of command. I know many of them had their request denied. But the folks out here this evening, you see some of them are with their family members, taking the time to come here and hopefully hear some priorities from the board. What I didn't know is that over the last couple of weeks, some events would transpire that I feel obligated to have to bring to the board's attention. It wasn't the intention of bringing membership to this room. I told you, President Costa, right after last board meeting, that I need to do a better job and make an attempt to get members in front of you. And that's what I did. But over the last couple of weeks, some troubling things have occurred. We tried to schedule a priority negotiation meeting for tomorrow. That request was denied. Now I'll provide a little bit of context as to why that request was denied. Now I'm paraphrasing to the lead negotiator for the district, Jack Hughes. In his email response, he said that the district will decline meeting for tomorrow. We cleared our schedules. We made ourselves available. We delayed vacations to make ourselves available at 0900 at the Union Hall, scheduled for tomorrow. He said that the district would decline that and wanted to recognize that they felt that it was inappropriate for us to schedule that meeting. Inappropriate, as he referenced the ground rules that say that parties must mutually agree on scheduling meetings. Inappropriate was the word that stood out to me. And so I feel it's my responsibility to talk about some inappropriate behavior that's occurred, and as a result, why we wanted to schedule that meeting. We had a costing meeting that occurred last week. In that costing meeting, we tried to present an alternative solution to staffing, as staffing has been a struggle for this agency, a struggle for the men and women that you see behind you that are getting mandatoried all the time. Men and women that don't know if they're going to show up to work and be able to ride on the apparatus that they bid, don't know if they're going to work in the seat to the position that they promoted in. So in an attempt to come to a resolution, we tried to present an alternative solution to staffing. That request was denied. I exclusively stated in that meeting that we felt that staffing was something that we were going to bargain for in negotiation. We feel it's a working condition, right, for us to be able to bargain for. When we see our members getting mandatory, taken away from their families, summer vacations being delayed, working tirelessly, it is a working condition, and we feel that we have the right to be able to bargain for it. And so that's exactly where I said the conversation was going to take place. I said it would take place in the bargaining room. It's not going to take place in a meeting outside of bargaining. It's not going to happen in the service delivery committee. It's not going to happen in the strategic plan. Those committees are just now getting started. They don't even have committee members assigned. This is a problem that exists today, not a problem for the future. This is one that we should have been proactive and addressed a long time ago. The day after that meeting, a member of the board and the fire chief reached out directly to members of my bargaining team, not to me, but to members of my bargaining team soliciting information. Now, is there a process for information requests as it pertains to negotiations? Absolutely. Was that process followed? No. So you want to talk about things that are inappropriate? That was inappropriate. Chief House, you should have reached out to me. In addition to that, the district sent out an investigative policy change, a unilateral change in investigative procedures without consulting 522. Inappropriate. We've gotten legal involved. Our legal has had disputes back and forth with the Human Resources Division. The district denied a request to meet and confer on changes as it pertains to overtime and working conditions as a result of overtime. Again, our legal reached out in an attempt to meet and confer. That request was declined. The district feels that it is a courtesy for them to be able to consult with 522 on these matters. And the buzzword that I've been hearing the last couple of weeks is management right. There is a process for the district to get to management rights. MMBA is the governing body as it pertains to labor relations. There are triggers in place that trigger meet and confers where the district is obligated. It's not a courtesy, it's a legal obligation for them to fulfill and meet with us. But it doesn't seem like that's being honored at all. What troubled me even more is it was recently conveyed to me that the board's taken a unanimous position on staffing not being an item in negotiations. And I've talked to many of you on the board as it pertains to that. As much as I appreciate the position that you're coming from, I've told other board members, I feel it's unfair that the goalposts have been moved. We came to you almost a year ago and asked what your priorities were as a board. Now, we don't have to do that, but we did. We did it because we value the relationship with all of you. We came to you and asked, what are your priorities? And I heard from you, brownouts and mandatories. We went to our membership and we asked them what their priorities were. And taking in consideration your priorities and their priorities, we put together comprehensive proposals for bargaining. Almost 12 months later, now we're out of contract and it's expired, and we're being told that staffing isn't something that the board supports in negotiations. So I hope you can understand the frustration that we have, being that the goalposts have been moved on us. We will continue to have the conversation of staffing because that's a labor priority. Our priorities aren't always going to be aligned with the board's. We know that. But what we need to know is what your priorities are so that we can make an attempt to accommodate both needs. That's negotiations. We come to the table, you may not have the same priorities that we do, and somewhere in the middle lies a deal. But what we can't do is continue to kick the can down the road and not address problems. We're browning out resources every single day. Many of you have been presented the proposal that we've offered as it relates to staffing. The district's essentially doing that. They're creating pools by browning out resources. That's what's happening. They have to in order to work people out of class and keep more rigs in service. But on the backs of our membership, our members are being forced to pick between two wrongs. Is it more wrong to violate the contract, or is it more wrong to take a rig out of service? They should never be the ones having to deal with that decision. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to their families. They should never be the ones put in that situation. We have members that have been told, not even asked, not given an option, but told, you're going to go work as a firefighter today. You're going to go work and you're going to go staff a squad. As a captain in this organization, somebody that's gone through the promotional process, because we have a browned out resource and they're going to be told to go work as a firefighter for the day. Do I understand it? Maybe. Maybe if we've made attempts to come up with long-term solutions for the problem, but we don't see them. Many of the folks that you see standing on the back wall, they have no idea what the plan is. They don't know what the vision is. They don't know what the future lies. I've been getting out in front of the men and women of this organization, getting in front of them and asking questions. The 1 to 5 year firefighters are the ones that I can see it on their face the most. They're lost. They're looking for some stability. They need it. And the decisions that are being made right now in this organization don't make sense to me at all. Why the question I asked recently, why are we doing a firefighter hiring process? Typically, we get coordinated with a courtesy, if you will, probably something that wouldn't trigger a unfair labor practice, which we will have unfair labor practices filed next week. I don't love that, but I feel like I'm being forced to do it. But I asked, why are we doing a firefighter hiring right now? I needed to ask that question because I need to understand where we're at, because these members are asking. The MMP group is asking, why are we doing that process? And why are we doing a paramedic in progress firefighter hiring? Something that management came to labor for approval on when we did it with the MMP rank. So I was a little caught off guard when it didn't come to us again. Again, it's a courtesy. Fine. Can you explain to me why it is that we're doing that? Because it's on the calendar. Like, okay, well, we have 2 MMP ambulances that are browned out right now. We started with 11. Now we have 9. We just created stability in that working group. Where do you think, and this is a question for the board, and I don't need an answer from you right now, but where do you think majority of those applicants are going to come from for the firefighter position? Internal. It's where they come most of the time. So we just created some stability in that group, and now we're going to pull more from that group, which is going to result in additional brownouts, additional closures of ambulances. I've asked for a plan. I've tried to go through the proper channels. Like, give me a plan. What can I explain to the members? I have MMPs that think that management's intentionally trying to destroy that program, dissolve it, because actions are speaking differently from what the words are that are being conveyed to them. It's not fair. It's not fair to the membership. It's not fair to their families, but most of all, it's not fair to the community. I spoke with a member of the community recently, and they asked me, a question came up organically from them. So I hear that resources are being closed. You guys are having a hard time staffing stuff. So we are. Yeah, we have brownouts almost every single day, different types of apparatus, but we have brownouts almost every single day. And they said, why is that? And we don't have the staffing to do it. So why didn't you hire more? You know, some simplistic mindset from somebody that's not involved in the fire service. Well, we don't have the funding to do it. Do you have a reserve? I said, yeah. They said, that's very disheartening that the fire district will hold staffing hostage to a spreadsheet. Their words, not mine. But it sunk in. It sunk in because it spoke volumes to what a member of the public sees from their lens. Because they see that money matters more than the number one thing that we've said, all of us, myself included, service delivery is number one. And when I hear that from a member of the public, I take that serious. It's a totally different perspective, one that hit me hard because I didn't even think of it that way. I wish I had, would have mentioned it in a bargaining session, but I didn't. It was them that brought that to my attention. We're looking at all of you because, to an extent, like Director Rice mentioned, yes, this is a board problem. This is a board problem. It was forecasted. We knew this was coming. We knew negotiations were coming. We know that we've had staffing problems. Absolutely. This is a call to action on you. We need support. Now, I don't want you to just hear it from me. I have my directors up here as well, so they can give you perspective from their lens. As you know, we've split up our duties, administrative and operations. I'd love for you to hear some perspective from them as well, and I'm happy to take questions at the end.
Sorry, Sean, I apologize. Do you mind coming back? I know you said questions at the end, but there was a question that came up, so I just want to make sure we took an opportunity to just give you the opportunity, Director Rice.
Just for Vice President Scholar and then for the district too. In the old days, when we had a policy change, George Apple there was a whole ring down process where I would get the policy change with a sign-off sheet that went to it, and you had 14 days to review it and either agree or reschedule a meet and confer session over the impacts and effects. Do we do that today?
Depends. It's so inconsistent.
That's
Sometimes we get it. Sometimes we get it. Sometimes we don't. Depends on the type of
go
policy.
to the fire chief on that. Do we have a process that we use every single time with consistency?
We do on applicable policies that are under preview of both labor management. Yes. So an administrative
Having
policy.
known a little bit about the investigative piece, a change in that and the change that I heard, I was not happy about. That definitely is a meet and confer. That's a sentinel thing, an operation that labor and management should work together on always. We had that tackled 20 years ago. I know it's not 20 years ago. There's much that goes on in the area of staffing and how we staff that I don't fully understand it. It's different than when I was on the floor, but I wanted to go back to that piece. Please. There should not be a hit and miss on policy changes that are meet and confer, and a good organization errors on the side. If I'm not sure, I'm sending it. I think that's an expectation from each of us here. That's disheartening.
Director
I'm
Rice,
not
if
gonna
I may.
respond. No, I want to listen more than I talk, but that one I wanted to hear about because that's a simple fix. That's not hard. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director Rice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Good evening. I wrote it down. It helps keep me on track and keep some of the verbiage censored. So,
Thank you.
good evening, President Acosta, members of the board. everyone in the room. My name's Stephen Oberlander, for those that don't know me. I'm a director with 522. And my responsibilities, mostly operations, spec ops, and then a whole bunch of other things. So I'm going to speak specifically towards some operational challenges and kind of an update what's going on. Nothing new. We've been out of contract since the beginning of this month, and negotiations began nearly a year ago. The mandatory overtime, staffing shortages, brownouts, lack of communication, and absence of a clear vision are not new. What should concern everybody is that these conditions continue to get worse. At some point, repeated inaction becomes a decision. The district describes itself as a data-driven agency, so let's look at the data. From May through July, the district has recorded approximately 3,702 vacancies, resulting in at least 526 documented true mandatories. Anyone familiar with our staffing procedures know that the actual number affected is significantly higher. Over 3,000 vacancies and 526 mandatories. That means our members are going above and beyond, stepping up to fill the holes, to fill the voids, to do everything they can to keep rigs on the road. We just can't keep up. We're wearing our members down. And we're asking how much? Because continually the only thing we hear is you need to step up more. We need more and more and more. We have not been told a plan. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. If we had a plan, an expectation of, hey, we need to get through this month because we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and the end is going to be here, our members will run through walls. But with no vision, no leadership in this organization, you're breaking the members apart. The members that are here to provide a service and protect the communities. Our members are missing time with their families, losing critical recovery time, and being ordered back to perform one of the most dangerous jobs in public service. An exhausted workforce is not healthy, sustainable, or safe. That risk follows our members into the community. Now consider the brownouts. In May, there were 4. In June, there were 29. So far in July, there have been 39 and counting. To the community that's listening, a brownout means a fire company or emergency resource that should have been available may be closed. It can mean fewer resources, longer response times, and reduced capability when you need the help the most. To the board, you have repeatedly asked labor and administration to work together. We have tried. We have requested meetings, made phone calls, presented solutions, and attempted to address problems before they became safety issues. Meetings are canceled and denied, calls are not answered or returned. My responsibility is operations. Over the last 2 months, my calls to my counterpart within the agency have not been answered one single time. Not one single call has been returned to me. There was one occasion where I got some text messages back and forth, and in those text messages, I asked, please call me, because this is going nowhere with the text messages. We need to have a voice conversation. That call never came. Meanwhile, members are being placed out of class on specialty apparatus without adequate communication or completed safety validations. Captains are being directed to work down on squads, as you heard earlier. Employees are being forced to choose between 2 wrongs. We're placing people in unqualified positions now. We have a process. You want to be on a truck, we have a TRQ process. You want to be on the rescue, we have a process to be qualified. We're putting members that don't meet those qualifications on specialty rigs and promoted positions. A process that we have to follow. A process that protects the members and protects the public. To our members, we see your sacrifice. The current level of service is being maintained because you continue to step up, not because this crisis has been solved. This crisis management being pushed onto the frontline employees. To the board, this is now an issue of governance and oversight. The question is no longer whether a problem exists. The question is what this board intends to do about it. We need visible leadership, meaningful accountability, honest communication, and measurable improvements. The warning signs are here and the data is here, and the members are here and have spoken. We're asking the board to lead this act before the failures result in consequences that can't be reversed. I'll leave that to any questions.
Director Sailors.
mentioned safety validations for people that need to work out of class.
Yes.
Where would we find those? Are they in the MOU?
Those would be in the MOU. Those would be in the staffing document. I can provide those. And we have a TRQ process and a rescue process. So to provide clarification,
And the rescue process, that's in the MOU?
that is as well, correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
I have some questions, but I'll wait till the end.
You sure?
Yes.
Actually, I've got a question for
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry.
No, I
Go,
just,
Trevor.
it just
Please.
popped up, thought bubble. So you mentioned especially the rescues and the specialty programs. I thought we had folks on waiting lists to fill those positions that were already qualified. So how is that not being followed?
When we do an out of class, so for an example, when I was a firefighter and I promoted to captain, my TRQ process gets pulled. The role of a captain on a truck is very much different than a firefighter, right? So when I promote to captain, I am not allowed to work a truck and I need more training, and there's a whole nother task book and process to be able to work a truck again. And that can't be started till I'm off probation and I show that I'm satisfactory in working as a captain. Once I'm done with that, I go through a TRQ process and a training to show that I'm competent in the role of a captain on a truck. Right now, if you are working out of class, members have been put on a truck without that process. Members have been put on a rescue without that process.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, President Costa, Board of Directors, Chief House, everybody in the room. Thanks everybody for coming out. Russ Gardner, Director, Local 522. When you go last, sometimes everybody steals a little thunder, right? So hopefully I'll be able to tie some things up into a bow here and be concise with my remarks. Getting in this position about 6-7 months ago, started doing a lot of looking into what the board wants, right? And how can we support that, and getting caught up in where we're at in negotiations, and found out that a lot of work that was done prior to my involvement was centered around direction from the board and the membership on putting together packages. So I was glad to see that happen. And, I think when we want to talk about what I perceive as the board's direction is communications and collaboration, right? I feel like the board is pushing to have labor management sit together, have conversations, get things settled, and try and move this ball down the court, right? And I have a couple instances where maybe that might not have been the case. And Sean sort of alluded to one earlier, right? We had a rescheduled finance meeting, costing committee or costing meeting that got rescheduled with CFO O'Toole, and I believe Director Weber was there as well. And we thought that was going to be an opportunity to discuss multiple staffing options and look at different things, right? It was conveyed to us in that meeting that that was not the intent of the district, and it was a unanimous decision to limit it to just presenting the costing for the proposal that we had already pushed across the table. As we're sitting in this meeting, I'm frustrated, obviously, because I felt like I had communicated well with CFO O'Toole about trying to work through different things and come up with different solutions so that we collectively, collaboratively can communicate and educate the board on some of the things that we discussed. That was taken away from us by the decision and the direction to not go down that route. And it was frustrating. I sensed a little bit, I'm not going to speak for CFO O'Toole, but I know he wants to help and he wants to work with us and he wants to help us out and cost things for us, because that costing piece is a huge part of negotiations, as we all know, right? Another example, we know the MMPs have had a strong presence in this boardroom in the last 2 months or so. That prompted some, I don't want to call them emergency meetings, but meetings of urgency, and where labor and EMS and management sat together and started to work on solutions for that. And that's where you see where we are right now with our MMP program, with 2 units closed, right? Inadvertently creating a pool that helps manage the staffing dilemmas that rank has had. We did have another meeting scheduled with that group, right? And right before that meeting was supposed to happen, a couple days before, we were told it got canceled. Not sure who provided that direction. The message we got was it was canceled because the conversation that was going to happen in that room needed to happen in negotiations. So that room was going to talk about staffing and things of that nature, but that had to happen in negotiations. But now we're being told that staffing isn't allowed to be talked about in negotiations. So the inconsistency here is what we're challenged with. And Sean alluded to moving the goalposts, right? And that's what our frustration where it lies is where are we at? Because the board wants to eliminate brownouts, want to minimize mandatories, and so do we. But how do we get there? Okay. Regards to collaboration. Again, the board has been pressing for more labor management meetings. And I've only been to 2 this year. Okay. We're supposed to have them quarterly per our MOU. They're supposed to happen this month. In preparation for that on June 11th, you guys have an email right now in your inbox that will describe all this, but June 11th, I reached out to the district to try and schedule it for what has historically been the last Wednesday of the month that it was supposed to be in. That would have been July 29th. A few days later, got feedback from the district that they're working around it, and then had a conversation a couple days after that with Chief Farica, where he's basically told me like it's not looking good. And I said, hey, please just find us some dates then. Well, last night we got an email. That meeting is not going to happen. So while I feel we are listening to what the board wants us to do, collaborate, communicate, in some form or fashion, a lot of these things are getting ripped out from underneath us. There's a lot of things that we can talk about outside negotiations in the organization related to labor management. But if we can't come to the table and talk, which is a priority of this board, I don't know what we can do. Right? So for me, right now, we're trying to work towards solutions. Minimize mandatories, no brownouts, find ways to get down this path so that this organization can move forward. But right now we need consistency. So when we walk in a room, not that we expect to get our way all the time, but we know what to expect as far as we're all working together. But when the goalposts continue to get moved, that's inconsistent. And nobody can build a plan around inconsistencies. The men and women in the back here, they work in a very inconsistent environment. Dynamic, right? That's what they're trained to do. That's what they do very well. And we're proud to represent them. But our organization doesn't need to be ran that way. If we can find ways to get consistent communication and collaboration, I think we can move forward. And how do we get there? How can the board help us is what we want to know. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
I do have a question, actually.
Yeah.
You kind of asked the question at the end there. So what is it that you're looking for from the board on this particular item that you're talking about?
Yeah. So, I mean, the board has provided the direction to have communication and collaboration, right? When we don't have that and one side's willing and the other side hasn't made it a priority, and how do we, I mean, other than saying, have another conversation about moving and getting us in the room together. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
Okay.
I mean, short of, forcing it to happen, which I would argue nobody on this board should have to be that integrated. And if you have to be, that should be asking ourselves why.
After it should be getting a hell of a lot more money than $80 a meeting.
Did I answer your question, President?
Yes, you did. Thank you. Because it kind of leads to the next part. But before I jump in here, I'll ask my colleagues if they have any questions. Any questions? Okay. So I thank you first for coming and providing feedback, keeping us apprised of what's going on week to week and the work that you guys are doing. Thank you for the members for coming out today. So I think you put a challenge out there about governance and oversight, if I recall correctly, and leadership. So I'll take full responsibility for where we're at today. And given that, I would like to ask for some leeway here from my colleagues as we move forward. So the executive committee has weighed in and provided some direction to staff as far as the strategic plan. And the board has provided feedback on the strategic plan around the points that you guys made. So communication, key, coordination, key. And both of those cannot happen without this board, our members, and staff. The other piece was we put forward a challenge on labor management. And you guys have said it clearly, that is a piece that is missing. We need to meet more often. And I think we had reasons why that can't happen. So if my colleagues don't mind, I'd like to request that the board schedule a labor management meeting. And we're going to schedule monthly, which is I think what the executive committee had asked for. And I think we ran into some concerns about that. And I understand the dynamics that what you guys are dealing with. So bear with me here. But the board needs to lean in a little bit more. And so I think here's an opportunity for us to do that. I'd like to request that we get a schedule together for a monthly meeting, because I think a lot of these issues have to be addressed. Some of them can only be addressed in negotiations, but if we keep waiting for negotiations, these issues are only going to pile up and we need to address them today. So let's put forward a meeting. If you guys are willing to do that, the board will request a meeting or a board member, and that board member will be present, and then we will bring sides together and talk through it. Now, the key, though, in the communication piece is I think we have to be comfortable with we may not agree. And I think as you guys had indicated, we have to understand where we're both coming from, meet in the middle, and that's a good thing, right? But right now we're nowhere near. So we need to find a way to meet in the middle. We need to be okay with a disagreement because that's just how it's going to be. And I think then if those disagreements are warranted, they should come back to the board. I mean, that's our job, is to weigh in. And so I think we need to do a little bit more of that. And we talked a lot about the board priorities. So no brownouts. We need to address the mandatory issue. We need to address the desires and needs of the community. And I think the only way we're going to get that is if both sides come together and the community provide feedback. I think the industry is changing. This district is changing. We need to be able to change with it, which means we're going to have tough conversations about where we are and where we're going. I think that's what you guys are looking for, if I'm correct. Okay. And we need a vision that we can all line up behind and go after. Am I following correct? I don't want to speak for you guys, but am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And I'm happy. I'm welcoming to the idea of monthly labor management meetings. But with respect to that,
Yeah, please.
I'm not willing to circumvent the negotiation process.
Of course not.
So what we do have to determine are what are things that are appropriate topics in bargaining and what are items that are appropriate for labor management.
Sure.
And sometimes you might be able to have a mixture of the two. Maybe conceptual ideas that find their way to bargaining are items that are discussed at labor management, and maybe the other way around. But we have a firm position and a belief that working conditions are a reflection of staffing. And we have planted our flag in the ground. And that is a hill that I am willing to die on for this membership, to address those staffing concerns in negotiations. I need to make that crystal clear, just so we're on the same
Sure.
page.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so that if I may, Sean, can you provide us with what you think we should be discussing in that room outside of negotiations? Negotiations, something different. We're not negotiating, but we need to get labor management in the room. We need to solve issues that aren't part of negotiations. We're only going to do that if we have a scheduled meeting. And we also, I think we talked, we challenged the staff to come up with an agenda. Part of that is outreach, consistent outreach. So can you provide kind of a list of what you think the first meeting should cover outside of negotiation, all that other stuff?
Yes, we'll work on a list of items. We're waiting on confirmation. I'm pretty confident that we will have a negotiation meeting on August 19th, 17th, 18th, something like that. 19th. We're waiting on confirmation from other members of the group.
Okay.
But we are going to accommodate the district's request for that meeting on August 19th. We have executive board scheduled that same day. I coordinated with President Jameson, who's out of town right now, to make sure that we could make that happen. We wanted to make sure that we could do that. So we're just waiting on confirmation from, I think, members of both sides of our team. But we will be there. And in that bargaining session, I think would be a great opportunity for us to get on the same page of what is appropriate in negotiations and what items can be discussed in labor management.
Sure. Yeah.
So I
That'd be
think
great.
that would be an opportunity, and I'm confident that that will be scheduled.
Okay, thank you. And I think the key here is we want to keep that moving. And then clearly we want to have more collaboration. And I think the board can lean in to make that happen at first. And of course, we want that to continue without necessarily the board being present, or a board member, I should say. But clearly we have a situation, we have a gap. And so I'll take responsibility. I'm going to lean into that. So I will work to get the first meeting going, and then I'll ask one of my colleagues if they want to take that on. But it'll be a board-driven labor management meeting. And then we can start to work through some of these issues. Now, I know, bear with me here. In order to work together, we got to make time. And so we're going to have to clear our schedules, do the best we can. We got to come to the table. Friction is necessary. That's the only way we're going to get better. But bear with us when we go through that friction, because I'm sure the board has some feedback, generally speaking, on that as well. So sorry, I cut you off.
No, to Director Rice's point, I mean, you guys don't get paid to run a fire agency. And I appreciate the willingness, and I appreciate you taking ownership, and I appreciate taking responsibility. But you guys need to be represented by 522 if you're going to run the fire agency, because you don't get paid enough to do that. It's hard enough to get people to take on the commitment that you do, and you don't do it for the money. But you didn't take on an obligation to run the fire agency, for lack of better terms, to have to babysit a meeting.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that.
I hear you. I appreciate and acknowledge your willingness to do that, but I think it speaks volumes to where we're at as an organization. If the board has to get involved at the level that you're speaking, we have an issue.
Mhm.
And from a labor perspective, our position is that the board has focused more on the sheep than they have the shepherd. And I say that with all due respect, Chief, but you are a reflection of your team. And when the team dynamic is not working, then the board is reflected by your actions. And that isn't a healthy environment. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we also have been focusing in the wrong direction, which is why this meeting took place tonight, so we can address all of you. You are the only ones in the organization that can hold anybody here accountable. Labor can't. We can't. So when we ask about what we're looking for action, we're looking for accountability.
Yeah.
The membership deserves it. The community deserves it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? Director Gould.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. As you mentioned, a couple of months ago, we heard some pretty shocking information from members of our staff on the MMP issue. And I understand tonight that there was emergency meetings that occurred and there were some changes that occurred. I am very troubled by the numbers relative to brownouts. If that trajectory continues, we are failing our community. Ultimately, that's it. And we just asked them to open up their piggy bank and give us $500 million almost. And then to hear tonight that we're not making good on what we promised that we will do. So I don't care who gets in what meeting and who's there. And I would encourage the executive team to put a list of people together and some ad hoc committee. I don't even care what you call it, but nobody gets to leave that room until there's 3 or 4 options that are priced out, that are options that we can all have a negotiation and discussion on to stop the brownout debacle. You've even said it. We mentioned this months and months ago, that one of our biggest issues was the issue of brownouts. That has not changed, at least in my mind, and I think my colleagues. That is not acceptable behavior for a fire department. So I would just ask us to take the lead as the executive team. That's why you get the big money. And we figure out who needs to be in the room, and everybody gets in there. We close the doors. Maybe we get some pizza. We say nobody leaves until we have some kind of temporary and get a resolution to this now. And nobody's going to leave happy, but that means it's going to work, right? Because we cannot keep this trajectory going. The numbers you shared tonight are scary as hell. I don't know that I can go to the constituents in Citrus Heights and say to them, yeah, these 3 stations won't come today. I can't think of a worse thing to have a conversation about. So I hope that we can take, as elected officials, we can take the lead and say, we're going to get this done. We're going to tell everybody that needs to be involved, this is your number 1 priority as much as we can. You will, and we will decide when the meetings occur.
Yep.
And then everybody will show up who has a stake in that. And we will leave the meeting with at least some agreed upon solutions, temporary, maybe a little longer term, and then maybe even long term. I'd just be happy if we started that trajectory of brownouts going the opposite direction. Because it just is unbelievable to me. I don't know the cause of all the causes. I'm sure it's way more complicated than Grant can figure out, but I won't be in the room, which means it'll be successful as well. Okay, so thank you, Mr. President. That's my challenge to us.
Yep. Thank you, Director Gould. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. So given Director Grant or Director Gould's comments, I'll take the lead on behalf of the executive committee to coordinate our first meeting. And then from there, we'll set up kind of a cadence of meetings, and then we'll, as a board, can identify someone to kind of lead that on behalf of the board. Does that work? Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Did I miss anything? I know a lot there. Okay.
We're good. But before we walk away, is there anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I may, I know we've got a lot of people in the room. Does anybody want to come up and say a few words? All right. Please.
I'm not really a meeting guy.
That's all right. You're here.
Came to offer support to these gentlemen. I'm Derek Oakes. I work at Station 50. And I pay attention to a lot of stuff the union tells us. We don't get a lot of chance to hear from you. And I'm just a member. I come to work, I do my job, and I go home. And I appreciate all the work that you guys put into, making that a job that I can just go home and, not pay attention to work. But it seems like I can't lately because all this stuff's happening back and forth. And so from the line personnel like us that don't really pay attention to it or can't make these meetings, we just hear all the back and forth. And so I appreciate what you said about let's schedule these meetings, but I've heard nothing but meeting this, meeting that, meeting whatever. Nobody died wishing they went to more meetings. So you need to get like maybe one meeting to rule them all. Just put all this stuff out and get it fixed, and don't leave until it's done, because every problem that you don't fix at one of these meetings is another meeting that you have to go to. So coming in here, seeing this, I really appreciate getting a firsthand view of you saying, hey, we're going to get this fixed. I was one of the people out there shaking a sign for, Measure.
Thank you.
And so I feel a little bit clownish now also that we're browning out rigs. It's awesome that we have money to buy equipment, but if we can't staff it, then what's the point? So hopefully we can get this fixed. You guys can all work together and everybody just get along, and that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. All right. So I think before we move on to the next item, I think the board, we've got some challenges. So if you don't mind, we'll take the lead here on getting this first meeting going. And I know we don't want meetings for meeting's sake, but part of this will be coming out with some tasks and assignments so we can keep all of us accountable moving forward. So thank you for taking the time and providing your feedback. All right. With that, we will move to committee and delegate reports to the executive committee. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 13th. No other reports. All right. Finance and Audit Committee, Director Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finance and Audit Committee's next meeting, August 27th, 5:30 in these chambers.
Great. Thank you, Director. Policy Committee, Director Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next policy committee will be on August 13th at 5:30 p.m.
All right. Thank you, Director Clark. So before we go to board member questions and comments, Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'd just like all of us to meet in the front, take a picture, and recognize a decade-and-a-half service to this organization for our General Counsel, John Labra, and provide him with a gift of that acknowledgement. And then we will have that signed resolution to present to him too at a later date, obviously. So thank you, sir, for all your dedication to the agency, to the community we serve, the friendship, the professional relationship, and guiding us through multiple levels of administrative staff and directors, and providing counsel to all of us. So thank you, sir, for just over a decade and a half of service. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for those words.
You must, right?
Yes, yes.
You know, since- Is that under? You know.
Yes, John.
Director Costa, if I could, I just want to say a couple of things.
Please.
I want to thank the board and Chief House for the plaque. It's awesome. Thank you very much. I want to say it's been a privilege to represent this district for the last, I think it's 18 years. You know, and when you get the attorney involved in things, a lot of times it's a dispute or adversity or an issue that, you know, you got to get the attorney involved in, right? But my career has been spent representing public agencies, mostly public safety agencies. And why I feel it's such a privilege to represent this particular agency is even though there's disputes and even though there might be some adversity, like we've seen a little bit here tonight, this board and the 7 fire chiefs I've worked with have always had, if you look out on the horizon and look out on the finish line, the same goals involved. And so there might be times where we have to, and the lawyer has to get involved prior to getting to that finish line. But it's always been an honor because I know on both sides of whatever issue I'm dealing with, we're always looking at that same goal at the end of the line. And so I just want to say thank you very much. It was a privilege to serve. Without calling out everyone's names, there's 3 original OGs here, Director Jones, Director Clark, and Director Gould. Director Wood is kind of an OG 2.0. The others I don't know and haven't served as long, but it's been a pleasure serving with you also. Director Rice, I've known him for many years before he became here. And I don't want to, I know we're kind of short on time, but I'll tell one little story about Director Rice.
Excellent. That's it. That's what.
When we were on Hurley, we were in a closed session. I can't remember what it was about. And I think Chief Henke was the fire chief. And there was an issue. And I hadn't seen that issue come up. So I kind of boned up on that issue and felt like, okay, I could handle whatever legal questions or concerns might come out of the issue. And so we're in this closed session meeting. And, you know, people were animated and trying to figure out what the decisions were going to be. And I'd never met Director Rice. This is the first time I had met him. He probably doesn't remember this, but I do. And he started in on setting forth his position. And some of you might know that when he takes to talk about an issue, he can become I'll say emphatic. Is that a good word I can use on that? And he did, and I was sitting back going, whoa. And I was prepared to say that if anyone asked me a question about what was going on or what the issue or answer would be, my answer was going to be to point at Director Rice and say, whatever he says. So that was my first. Now, throughout the years, I think we've had more of an even relationship, but my first meeting him was, it's his, whatever he says is the right answer. And so that's just a story. Sorry, Director Rice. It comes from a good-hearted position. And so with that said, it was just a privilege to serve. It's a privilege to serve all of the divisional heads that I've worked with, and I can't name them all, but they're out in the audience. Some of them are out in the audience today. And last, it's been a privilege to work with the man to my right. He's a manly man on a ship of men, okay? And he's been a great chief to work with, and I've really enjoyed working with him. And when I leave here tonight and am no longer your general counsel, I'll be happy to know that I, in my heart, can call him a friend of mine. And so with that, thank you again.
Thank you, John. All right. I would open up to board member questions or comments. Director Jones.
Yes, thank you. John, thank you so much for all your years of service. And what happens is a lot of times we go into a closed session or even just ask for general counsel. And we say, or I would say, can you give me 2 or 3 ideas or options on ways to go at this? And he never came short of 6, at least. So I appreciate always the thoughtful, different venues and different directions and perspectives that you always granted us. That was so critical. It informed me on many of my decisions, and I appreciate that balanced, almost intuitive sense of all these markers out to consider. That's your greatest professional gift to me. I appreciate it very much. And I also appreciate the friendly and personal rapport, approachability that we've always had in the relationship between council and the board. So thank you again. Best of luck. And I'm still waiting to hear about that hole-in-one.
Thank you, Director Jones. Director Clark.
Yes, I'll just keep it short. Thank you for your years of dedication with Metro Fire. Like Director Jones mentioned, you're always approachable. I remember when I was president, you got us, you answered all my questions pretty much, and I always knew I could rely on you to give me the right answer to a problem that came up. So I wish you well on your retirement, and wish you good health above all else, and be well on your retirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Clark. Director Stark.
Well, I've got to know you the least, unfortunately for me, but I've learned a lot. I've always admired your calm demeanor when things seem to get crazy. You're a very cool character, and it helps steer things in the right direction. We really appreciate your dedication to the district.
Thank you, Director. Director Sailors.
John, you've always been there for us, no matter what the situation has been. And I want to thank you for your help all the time I've been here. I wish you well health and good times with your wife and her horses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, Sean and team, I appreciate your words tonight. Their clarity is helpful and the concern is shared. I'd like to thank all the men and women who sacrificed, again, time away from their families and their colleagues being here this evening to add some support to those folks who have a very difficult job to open up and come and share with us difficult items. I very much look forward to this becoming an issue of the past, and we've had thousands of them quickly. This organization cannot continue down this path. We cannot continue to not provide the number one service that we're paid to serve and do. It just can't happen. It'll be the demise of us if we can't make good on the promises that we made and make to our community. I would just ask our colleagues, and that's all of you, we're all a team, right? That we keep going, that we've seen things like this in the past, different contexts, but something like this, and we've always overcome it, and everyone sacrifices. There's few people that aren't sacrificing a significant amount to make this work. The men and women clearly are sacrificing by doing the things that have been described tonight. I would just ask you, for the good of the community, to continue to do that. They do not deserve having no one show up in their worst moment. That's what we all do, or you all do. So please continue to do that. We'll work it out. We'll figure it out. No one will get to leave the room until they do, because that's our obligation. So I'm happy that we're at this place. It's really uncomfortable, but that's good. Uncomfortability means we're going to have some change. We've been doing this for 26 years. And every once in a while, we get some pretty hard times. Pardon the fact that we know we've all got to change. I can tell you, this board is not unfamiliar with the fact that it's time for change. And we want to make that happen. We need your help and support. Second issue, John, one of the greatest blessings I have as an elected official is to know that there's somebody that will slap me upside the head when I make some stupid comment in closed session. And you have many, not physically, but it's fun to watch John just shake his head and go, man, I don't know where he comes up with this crap. And he keeps all of us on the straight and narrow, and that protects all of us. You think about all of the public agencies that get themselves in the Sacramento Bee for really not good things. John Lauber has been part of that team to keep us from doing that for a better part of a decade and a half. And I, for one, am grateful. I knew this day was coming. I've seen it before in this agency when we've lost general counsel. It's no fun. It's institutional knowledge. It's trying to babysit 9 people so that they stay correct in their decisions. And I appreciate that, John. It will be different around here without you. And it will take quite a while for the new team to even come close to filling your shoes. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Rice.
John, probably worked more with you as across the table as a labor representative, a little bit as a chief officer. And kind of the same thing. We've had exchanges that I think of often, and I don't think you probably don't, but what I've appreciated over the years were the ability to have those discussions around significant discipline, issues that affected members' lives. The grievance stuff wasn't really that, it is what it is. But I've always appreciated those off to the side conversations I've been able to have with you. Sometimes we find ourselves in a bad spot, and you've always carried yourself professionally. You see people as human beings and fallible, and redeemable, and not throwawayable, as long as we're on the able pod. But most people will never know this, and the people in this room won't know it unless you've ever been in a position to have those discussions. I've appreciated you over the years. I've worked with a lot of attorneys in the course of doing my job. You, John, certainly you have been one of the best, and your counsel has always been rock solid, and from a place that pushes all balls forward, if that can possibly happen. I appreciate that about you. I will miss you.
Thank you.
And then a community issue that has come up. I was trying to look up the address. I definitely believe I need to bring it to the board's attention. This is a District 7 issue. Fire Marshal Nygren, I believe the addresses are 3235, 3237 Norris Avenue. I was made aware on Tuesday that there's a pretty significant property purchase with a transitional halfway house situation moving into that neighborhood. Unfortunately, it is probably about a rock's throw from my house. I ended up speaking to Channel 13 today in front of the property. There's been zero community engagement. I represented myself as a neighbor and as a retired firefighter, not a board member nor any of my other past positions. It's as a neighbor. There were probably 20 to 30 community folks on the street today at that address right now. There is a community meeting going on. I've been back and forth on text with Supervisor Desmond. He is aware, as are the assembly member and one of the state senators. The issue is not the service that wants to be provided. The issue is there has been zero community engagement. I do think my ask of you, Fire Chief House, and I guess I need to do this correctly. If we could just have our fire marshal be aware of in any type of group home settings, what the requirements are. It is a lot that almost backs up to an elementary school. It's one property off an elementary school. There's going to be significant access problems. There's a front house and two in the back. It's fenced off and I didn't feel like climbing the fence at my prime age. I don't think there's a bridge to get back to the properties, but it runs right along Chicken Ranch Slough and there may be. So I fully expect this issue to potentially come to the Fire Prevention Bureau and to the department. And I wanted, President Costa, I wanted you to know how I represent myself. I live there and certainly there's going to be probably some fire department interaction. And I wanted to make sure that our Fire Prevention Bureau is aware. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rice.
32, 35, and 37 Norris roughly.
Yes,
Correct.
I'm
That's what I heard from you.
I'll correct that, Chief, when I can actually, I didn't want to be paying attention to my phone.
No, we'll get it from you later, but we'll do follow up.
Fire Marshal Nygren, I'll get you the correct address and it's just a watch and what are the requirements for these kind of settings? And they're talking about an occupancy of September 2026. And so, I mean, it's very quick and it's not the service being provided, it's the lack of community engagement and the lack of kind of a forward-facing impact on a neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Weber.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the entire membership for giving up, once again, more of your time. Also, the e-board from 522. I know it's not fun to come up here and say the words that you said, but it sheds light on a problem that we may not have been fully aware of. So I thank you for, again, coming up here and sticking your neck out for that. I think the board has heard you loud and clear. We need to get some conversations with the chief on this, but we will move forward, certainly with President Costa's setting of the meetings and see where that has fallen off. Because months ago, we had said that we were going to address this. I thought we had this worked out. And again, that's communication that we have not had yet, and we will certainly have those. So again, thank you everybody for your time. And again, the unfun things that had to be said tonight. So thank you. And to John, yeah, I'm a blip on your radar here. I know that. But I just wanted to thank you for your professionalism and your clarity in any of the communications we've had in closed session. I know I've been a little bit vocal on a topic, and you provided a great deal of clarity, not only to myself, but the entire board. So I thank you very much for your service. I congratulate you on your retirement. Also, I wish you the best of health. And one last thing, I want to make sure that your successor knows about the See's candy.
Yeah, I know.
Congratulations.
Part of the outgoing memo. Yeah. John, you know, kind of like Director Weber, I haven't been here very long, but I've had an opportunity, not just as a director, but in this role, to see you lean in and guide. This year has been interesting, and your guidance and friendship have been very helpful and had a significant impact on me. I'll say the one thing that I really appreciate, and it's an art, but how to be calm during chaos. And you do it in such a way that you always have a smile and you don't take yourself too seriously. And I think it helps me ground myself when things get crazy. And so I want to say that, I mean, that's a talent. And so thank you for doing that for us and being here and for all you've done. When I read through the resolution, I thought, man, we're gonna have to print and put another frame up because there was so much in here. But there was so much, but it didn't capture everything in your time here. So thank you for all that you've done for us, and that I know you'll continue to do and enjoy retirement. And if I'm not mistaken, music,
Mhm.
big hobby of yours. So have fun doing that.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, you know, the part about being calm, I think it goes back to my trial lawyer days. I was tried jury cases. And my law partner and I would always discuss, you know, when you get a witness on the stand, you don't know how it's going to come out. And a lot of times they're saying things that are just like killing your client. And sometimes you feel like a hot spear is going through the middle of your body. And with the jury sitting there, you just have to be nice and calm with a smile on your face. And so I think that some of that carries over from having to go through all those jury trials that way.
Right.
But thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all the training to get to that point here. Yeah. Thank you, John. And before I close, you know, thank you to the men and women that are here tonight. For those that continue to be here and be present and provide feedback. I've said before, I know the board has made these comments before, that, you know, we can't make good decisions without information, and we can't get that information unless we all engage and speak up. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for challenging us. I'll say, you know, Marnie is helping us keep track of some of the action items that we tend to throw out in these meetings, and helping us try to help balance the workload that keeps coming at all of you. So thank you, Marnie. And in that, the executive committee has leaned in heavily to try to find ways to shore up what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm a true believer that we don't know until we try. We don't learn until we fail. And so I don't mean to say we're going to fail, but I think it's important that we try, fail, try again. And in order to do that, we all have to show up with solutions and be okay with the solution we leave with. Because the dynamic we're going to have is finding the right solution at the right time. But it's going to take all of us to lean in and do that. So I want to thank my colleagues up here for leaning in and for challenging all of us to do that. And then part of that is tracking that work and holding each other accountable to that work. So thank you for speaking up and giving us feedback. Thank you to the men and women that take time off of your day with your family to be here to provide feedback. Give us a little grace as we work through it, and try to push a little bit. So with that, thank you again, and we'll close for closed session. We'll take about 5-10 minutes if that works for the board. Okay.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
But
All right. The board is back from closed session. Council, will you report out, please?
Yes, thank you, President Costa. The board met in closed session under the closed session agenda. Item 1, conference with labor negotiator. The board met with its designated negotiator for the employee organizations listed. No reportable action was taken. Number 2, the board met with respect to the industrial disability retirement claim of Eric House. No reportable action was taken. That will be taken up now in open session. Item number 3, public employee performance for the fire chief. The board met, no reportable action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you, council. All right, that brings us back to our action item. Adopt resolution, industrial disability retirement for Captain Eric Haas.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. All right, any comments or questions? No. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Director Stark,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Rice.
I and Captain Haas was a tremendous asset to this organization.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of the meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 13th. Meeting adjourned.